Good morning, everyone. We are going to kick off our Legislative and Human Resources Committee meeting for Tuesday, October 9th. Do we have any public comment today? All right, seeing none. Item 2 on the agenda is approval of the minutes from September 25th. Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Vonk, support by Commissioner Korndike. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, on to item 3, Treasurer's Office, Performance Measurement 5-minute update.
See if I can fill all 5 minutes for you.
Thanks, Ken.
Good morning, Commissioners. It's my pleasure to come before you again this year to discuss the performance measures, and this will be a very high overview, and really want to focus on one thing toward the end. But the mission of our office is to collect lodging and delinquent real property taxes and manage county funds within relevant laws, regulations, policies, and community standards. We have 3 strategic goals: to collect delinquent real property taxes in accordance with the methods prescribed by state statute, to collect all lodging taxes due to the county, and to invest funds entrusted to the Office of the County Treasurer in accordance with investment policies. All 3 of those tie directly to your vision statement relating to stable revenues. The numbers don't change a lot from year to year, but there's a couple things I just wanted to highlight for you on the page that shows a lot of the numbers for tax administration at the bottom. One of our indicators is the outputs of the number of tax receipts processed, and that number does continue to slide downward slightly. And I think that continues to be a reflection of the strong economy that we're in. More people are paying their taxes on time while they're current, so they're paying them to their local unit, and less are having to then pay us. So this number is a real good reflection of economic activity within the community. So as that number continues to go down, that's a good thing for us. The other number that I wanted to point out on the next page under investments, the bottom number there. Well, first of all, the higher number percentage, the top number, I should say, percentage of investment principal preserved at 100%. It continues almost 22 years of not losing a penny. Something we're very proud of. We invest very conservatively, and as you all know from my March updates, that we operate under the SLI principle: safety, liquidity, and yield, in that order. The second number on there is a welcome sight: general fund investment income. In 2017, we earned just under $1 million. When you look back 2 years prior, when it was $341,000, you can see that's a big increase. I'd love to say that that's all our wise investing and finding every possible investment, but it's really about the fact that the Fed has been raising rates consistently for the past 3 years, and probably will do so for at least into 2019. But we are benefiting from that. We expect that we'll be over probably in the neighborhood of 1.1 million for the general fund in 2018. So that's certainly helping the bottom line here for the county. The other numbers are all pretty consistent, so I didn't really want to go too much into that. But I wanted to touch on significant accomplishments. I struggle to come up with significant accomplishments every year. You may recall you've seen one for many years now, but it is significant, and that is, we do play a role in my office in helping to maintain our AAA bond rating. So I will continue to bang that drum as loud and as often as I can. However, we did have a second significant accomplishment recently that we're very proud of, and that is the getting the agreement with Airbnb signed. It was signed over the summer. They began charging the tax on August 1st, and we received our first payment around September 15th. We'll have another one due within the next week. I estimated that our first year revenue from that would be roughly $100,000, and that was based on information that had been reported by MLive as to what the estimated 2017 revenues were in Kent County by Airbnb hosts. They estimated that it was in the neighborhood of $1.7 million, $1.8 million of room revenue. So I bumped that up slightly. On a monthly average, that comes out to roughly $8,000 a month that we would expect. I was very happy to see that the first month that came in, which again was taxing for revenue in the month of August, was $16,000. So I may have, I hopefully have underestimated what our revenue will be from that. But again, that's 1 month. I've always believed that the fall would be higher, particularly, but that 16,000 really did not have was not at all impacted by our price. We'll see what happens in September and October, and that should give us some idea. But really, until we've gone through a full year cycle on it, it's hard to project based on 1 month what we're going to do. But that was a very welcome sight to have that revenue come in. So with that, I will leave you the rest of the numbers to peruse. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Ken. Any questions? Commissioner Corndick.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for the report and the numbers, Ken. Quick question in regards to the hotel motel tax audits. Mm-hmm. Moved up, looks like 3 in the last couple of years. Do you feel comfortable that we're doing enough audits with the new hotels that are coming online and now the Airbnb and collecting all the money that we're due on our hotel motel tax? And along with that, are you any findings in those audits that we should be concerned about, and is everyone paying their hotel motel tax?
Yeah, to answer your last question first, everyone's very current right now. We did have one particular hotel that went through a sale, and took us a little while to get all the revenue caught up from that, but that's been caught up. So everybody is essentially current on that. With regard to the quantity and quality of the audits, I'm still comfortable that the audit process is effective. In that when we do audit, we don't find a lot of variances, which means the hotels are, in general, reporting very accurately. I think we are nearing the point as we're closing in on 100 hotels that are subject to audit. There are some small motels and whatnot that are not, but we are closing in on the potential for perhaps a second part-time auditor or something to that effect. But as of now, we're continuing to meet those audit levels. We're trying to continue to streamline our process, taking advantage of technology. We're able to do more and more in our own physical office rather than being on site, because nowadays they keep all the data electronically as opposed to boxes and boxes of receipts. So I think we're still doing pretty well with that. Airbnb at this point is not going to increase our audit workload too much. Our agreement with Airbnb actually, they do not release information on individual hosts. Any audit we did would be through Airbnb, and I'm not sure how often or effective that would be, to be quite honest. But given that they are levying the tax on every host in Kent County, I feel pretty confident that we're going to get certainly almost all, if not all, of what we're entitled to there.
Thank you.
Commissioner Steck.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Ken.
Good morning.
Again, thank you for your work on the Airbnb agreement. A number of us have been pushing because we thought that was a matter of fairness that be followed up on. I'm wondering, though, is while Airbnb is certainly by reputation the most popular internet lodging application, are there others out there that you're looking at? Is Airbnb pushing back, saying, in fairness, you need to look at others as well?
Airbnb has not said anything about it, but there are a couple of other fairly well-known website application operators. VRBO is one, vacation by rental owner or something like that. And HomeAway.com. We are investigating right now, trying to figure out how to make who and how to make contact with them to pursue them as well. Now that we've got the Airbnb contract in place, we have a model to work from. So yes, we are continuing to look at those as well.
Thank you.
Commissioner Skaggs.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I just want to echo Commissioners Korndike and Steck, and thank you for your work and the other staff work on the Airbnb, adding them to the lodging excise tax. I think that was important work, as Commissioner Steck said, to ensure safety with our traditional hotels and motels, but at the same time make sure that all of our visitors had the options that they want. So that was great work, and I think it was really strong, and I'm grateful that you took the input from this committee and really ran with it. So much appreciated. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions for our treasurer? Seeing none, thank you, Ken. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks for your update. On to item 4, Veteran Services Performance Measurement. Matthew Van Zetten.
Good morning. I'm here today to present the Veteran Services Committee performance measures. And before we start, I just want to say a quick couple words. I want to thank Carrie Anderson. She left us this summer, but she was the first director of this department after it was reconstituted from Soldiers and Sailors Relief in 2010, and did a really excellent job in doing that. And also Paul Potter. Paul was the chair for that time and passed away this summer. I want to recognize the incredible work they did, and now we're transitioning. Here today is Mel Baumann. He's our new chair. Some of you might know Mel. And also Ryan Grams and Elena Bridges have been 2 staff leaders for us since Carrie has not left this summer. And then Rachel Westman also has been a key contributor in helping to get this presentation ready for you. So I want to say thanks to them and the entire team. They've been really good right now. So looking at our presentation overview, as you can see, we'll go through the traditional alignment, the performance metrics, budget issues, accomplishments, collaborations, and then look ahead. So in terms of priority alignment, we believe we align with the county board's priorities in these ways. We work with a vulnerable population and provide a safe haven for veterans to receive support. We also work in citizens input. We have monthly commission meetings for 7 active members of our community to participate in the review and advisory member participation with our committee. We're proactive and innovative. This board identified this as a need 10 years ago. We've continued to improve each and every year on our work and are trying to be innovative to meet the needs of veterans. And then the whole operation that we do is really intended to improve the quality of life here for Kent County veterans and our broader community. Our key metrics and goals are to ensure our staff is well trained. We want to make sure that every veteran who's eligible for services or for benefits for federal, state, and local benefits is aware of that and is receiving those benefits. And then we're interested in creating partnerships with our broad community to support veterans for easier access to housing and workforce development, transportation, and healthcare. In terms of our training, right now we have 3 VSOs on staff. Earlier this year we had 4. Carrie was an accredited veteran service officer too. And they need to receive 16 CEUs each year to maintain their accreditation. I've learned that that is not a simple accreditation. It is significant and deep. And so that training is really important to ensure that our veterans have access to benefits. We also look to provide a high customer service. We have instituted an option for a survey for every time a veteran receives services through us that they can fill out. This past year, we've had over 134 surveys returned with a 98% happiness satisfaction rate. So we're proud of that. Oh, excuse me. Let's see here. And I continue to see when I'm in the office incredible customer service when people are welcomed. They come into the office and are treated with respect. We look to create partnerships with organizations, and our goal is to create 2 each and every year. We've worked with the West Michigan Veterans Coalition previously. We've worked with Michigan Works. In this past year, we really instituted 2 significant partnerships. One with Degage Ministries, where we're providing direct service for vets who are in the Hartside neighborhood with showers, bus tokens, access to some basic need, IDs, things like that. And we're also working clearly with our Veterans Treatment Court, Judge Cortez in Wyoming, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. In terms of benefits received, this is really one of the major areas of why we transitioned from a Soldiers and Sailors Relief Commission, which was direct services for utility assistance, rent, things like that, which is more immediate needs, to trying to get veterans benefits that they've earned. As you see here, in 15, we had our claims, $6.5 million in claims were brought in. In 16, it was $4.8 million. Last year, we did $5.9 million, and this year, we're on track as well. I would just make a note that these compound. So when we get veterans that have a claim for a disability pension or a survivor benefit pension or something like that, those continue onward. So while we can't determine when people pass away or might lose that benefit, we do know a portion of each of these benefits are compounding in terms of year after year. And then we try to participate in at least 4 outreach activities per quarter. These could include things from the LZ, WGVU's work with LZ Michigan, to Women's Veteran Expos, to working with assisted living centers and finding those spouses of veterans who may passed away or others that might be eligible for surviving spouse benefits that might not know about those things. And so that's 4 per quarter, and we've actually so far this year done 28 outreach events. In terms of significant budget issues, we did a presentation earlier this year to the Finance Committee at their request about our budget, and one thing that was brought to our attention was our fund balance that we had. So we've been working diligently to revamp and do a few things differently. One of those was to really look at our scholarship program. So we're working on that to expand and clarify how we're going to promote that and work with our veterans in providing assistance to those that are in school. We also, the state of Michigan is working to provide more state funding for this department. And so we're working on a grant to fund another veteran service officer. And then we found that the state requires a data service called VetraSpec. It does some good things, but it's challenging for us to get our measurements out of it in a time saving way. So we're investigating right now with our committee members' help a data management software platform to integrate that, which would make our claims reporting much easier, quicker, faster. So we're investigating that too, and would be able to spend some funding, we think, to automate some of our work. In terms of significant accomplishments, I have to talk about this a little bit. Our committee members, our staff, Carrie Anderson in particular, and since then Elena, have been really instrumental in being part of the Coalition to End Homelessness Functional Zero Award for veterans. We're the only county in the state of Michigan that's received that award. And so we have a process in place that any veteran that's identified as homeless, that we have a process to get them housing. That's a significant accomplishment, very significantly. But obviously the veteran has to want to work with us, but we do have a process in place as a community. And in terms of our community partners and collaborations, you can see here that we work with Degage, community builders, but we're also working with the West Michigan Veterans Coalition in all kinds of different ways in our active parts of these tables where veterans are being served. Like I said earlier, we started a contract with Degage this year. It provides crisis services, referral services, IDs, hygiene services for women. It's a significant touch place for many veterans that are homeless in the community that we can do outreach from. So we've partnered with them. To date, they've assisted 196 veterans in some way. So we're measuring that work. And then the Veterans Treatment Court. This is a work that's been established a few years ago, is now grown. We provide $100,000 annually. And as you can see there, Judge Cortez has worked with this veteran at a graduation where he's achieved his requirements. And this is a problem-solving court, specifically geared towards veterans that may have substance use, behavioral health issues, and they provide mentors with these veterans from the community. There's a Friends Committee that works with them in particular. And it's really to create a community for veterans helping each other. And we receive monthly reports from them on their activities. In terms of our look ahead, we're in the process of hiring a new director. And that will be a significant change for all of us. So we're looking forward to that. We've talked a little bit about we're revamping our scholarship program. One thing that we're working on too is a targeted marketing plan. It's our sense that we've been doing this now for a while. We've taken a lot of the, if you will, the low-hanging fruit of getting our name out and letting people know about our claim services. And if we really want to continue to meet that $5.5 million mark, we really have to get more targeted in our outreach efforts. We have a committee member who's new to us who has a marketing background, and he's been working with us on looking at how do we use social media platforms differently, especially with our younger veterans that prefer that kind of outreach. How do we work with our older veterans in terms of targeting them where they might be at in different ways? Historically, we've done broad-based marketing, and I don't think we'll stop that. You've seen maybe signs on billboards. We've had some WZZM ads. We've been on the Rapid on bus, just for marketing, brand awareness, as we were a new department. But we're working now to try to hone that a little bit. And then we talked about that data software. We're hoping to identify a software platform that we'd be able to implement this year and do our reporting. So I think that's our overview. As you know, there's questions and answers, and so we'll try to work through those.
Thank you, Matthew. Commissioner Bonk.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Matt, appreciate the good work that you're part of there. From the start, Harold Mass, Harold Voorhees, and myself were a part of that, as well as a couple retired commissioners, and We were there during the tough days, weren't we, Wayman, when the vets really got this turned around on their own, and I'm glad to see where we are today. I brought fellow vets over there for some help, and I told other vets to stop by, and they'll point them in the right direction. And I hate to see the turnover that you're having right now, but that's just part of life. Change, and more change. But we're miles ahead of where we were 10 years ago, and appreciate your good work and other staff members that participated in that.
I would just like to say thank you for your leadership in ensuring that we stayed focused on that too, Commissioner. Thank you, Funk.
Thanks.
Commissioner Steck.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Matthew. I don't think it can be understated how important the zero homelessness accomplishment is. I think that's incredibly significant, and anyone who was involved in getting us there, my congratulations. My question and follow-up is, obviously that doesn't yield a single solution and then we're done. It requires ongoing attention. Who and what agencies are involved in the lead in making sure we stay there?
Yeah, Community Builders as a community partner has been sharing this work for some time, and they continue to do so. But you also have agencies like Dwelling Place, like Kent County Community Action with our VASH vouchers. Our role has been, we provide a lot of security deposits for vets when they're finding their places of that they're going to rent. The county also provides what are called tenant-based rental assistance vouchers through our Housing Commission and home funding. The City of Grand Rapids does something likewise. And then you have the Fed, the VA program here. And then there's a lot of private landlords that have been working. And I'm sure I'm leaving out some of the other agencies that participate. Link, ICCF, and there's a number of our nonprofit housing providers that work. The Coalition to End Homelessness is kind of under their umbrella, but Community Builders has been the chair and the lead convener, if you will.
Okay. If I could do one follow-up. So you'd also mentioned that the strategy requires the veteran to agree to participate, and I know that's sometimes a very problematic dynamic. What are the strategies that we can use if you have a veteran who declines to participate either because of a behavioral health issue or something like that?
So Pine Rest has a program called Street Reach that they work with Network 180 on that really does go out and try to identify veterans on the street. Commissioner Talon knows quite a bit about that when his staffing when he was working with the coalition. So they identify vets. Also when they come in, sometimes there's a screening, well there's always a screening process that identifies vets. So it's key, I think, that the community continue to be intentional about it. That's why we've invested in Dégagé. What we're doing is it's really basic kinds of hygiene support kind of work when vets come in, but we at least then are able to start that outreach process with a nonprofit agency and build relationship with people so they trust the system.
Good, thank you. And again, congratulations. Keep up the good work.
Commissioner Ponstein.
Thank you, Chair Bolter. My line of question is very similar to Commissioner Steck. So let's say there's a homeless vet on the street. I mean, what is the process of identifying them, benefits? We're at zero, but people come in and off the homeless rolls all the time. I guess my concern looking at the community, even just talking to people that have jobs, don't have any mental orders, to find some place to rent can be daunting. Is there transitional housing to get them off the street and then work with them to find housing, or maybe just a step-by-step?
So, yeah.
Seems to be like there's a lot of people doing a lot of things, and I think it might be more efficient. No criticism if it was just more targeted. This is
no criticism. This is good feedback. So obviously there's the outreach portion. We have some new services in place. Community Builders has started a new program where it's low-touch emergency housing. So if we find a veteran or somebody else that they can stay at while they search for an apartment, because we know housing affordability is a huge issue for many people beyond just the homeless in our community. Our nonprofit providers do provide permanent supportive housing, which is a model where about a third of your income is used for rent and then the rest is subsidized. We don't have enough of that in our community right now, so that's a challenge for us. Private landlords working with agencies really do the bulk of the work, and so those dollars are used for them. The functional zero category really is you have a process in place, and so like a place like Mel Trotter will host vets while they search for a place, and they have a coach, a veteran or a housing resource specialist from an agency that works with them and coaches them, that individual veteran in the process to find the housing. So it tries to be a strength-based model. I think, Commissioner Ponstein, we as a community face a housing affordability issue, and so the work of having these monthly meetings with the community to continue the process of making sure we're at zero is huge. You know, what the feds recognize is that we have these processes in place. We hit zero at one point, and we have a process to continue that. So that's what we're working on. But the housing issue, as you've heard in many other arenas, does make it challenging and, you know, something that we have to work on.
Thank you. Commissioner Skaggs?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Matthew. I'm just taking a look at page 2, and obviously, it looks like we're having some, we're meeting some benchmarks and missing others. Obviously, bringing in almost $6 million to our veterans this past year is fantastic, although it looks like we were aiming to serve 2,750, and we served less than that. And then I'm wondering why we didn't meet that goal. It looks like that was a new goal, so I can understand that can be sort of difficult to set a realistic expectation. And then I'm also looking at the number of outreach activities. I won't bring up my Russian history past. Well, I did. Obviously, when they would set the 5-year plans, you wouldn't want to set them too low and easy to meet. And it looks like the 16 outreach activities per year, maybe that goal should be bumped up a little bit.
Yeah, no. I think that's things that we need to look at. You're correct. So we'll take that into that feedback into account and look at those things. In terms of why we didn't hit 2750, I don't know where that benchmark. I'll have to look into how that was created and work with Ryan and Elena to see if they know that answer, and then we'll get back to you on that.
Thanks, Matthew.
All right, any other questions for Matthew? Seeing none, thank you, Matthew. Good update. On to item 5, Sheriff, add 1 school resource officer for Rockford and 2 school resource officers for Forest Hills. Wayman, would you like to read?
Sure, yes. This is a request to the board to add 3 county road patrol officer positions to provide 1 school resource officer for Rockford Public Schools and 2 additional school resource officers for Forest Hills Public Schools, and authorize the board chair to approve all applicable agreements. The sheriff is requesting a contract with Rockford Public Schools to provide 1 school resource officer and a vehicle, and to expand existing arrangement with Forest Hills Public Schools to provide 2 additional SROs and a vehicle. The need for the additional SROs will be met by adding 3 additional county road patrol officers positions at a cost of $128,000 annually per officer, including wages and benefits, equipment and other costs. Rockford Public Schools will pay 70% of the wages and benefits costs of the officer and $245 per month towards the cost of the vehicle. Forest Hills Public School District will pay 100% of the cost of the 2 additional officer wages and benefits and vehicles because they already have an SRO assigned at the 70% rate. All applicable contracts have been reviewed and approved as to form by Corporate Counsel. If funding is eliminated or decreased, the positions will be eliminated unless continuation funding is approved pursuant to fiscal policy on grants, contracts, and donations.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Korndike, support by Commissioner Bonk. Any questions or concerns? Commissioner Bonk?
Yes, thank you, Chair. What does that model look like?
Michelle?
Do we have an officer for so many hundred in each school, or because of the problems in the school district, or how does that, what does your general model look like?
Well, typically, up until this point, it's been one school resource officer per school district. However, there is a lot of national movement to go one school resource officer per high school, and then even some communities are going down to one per middle school as well. So this would be the first school district, Forest Hills would be the first school district now that would have multiples in Kent County. And they're going to 3 because they have 3 high schools. And they find that the officer just frankly can't be everywhere that they need to be at one time with just the one officer.
Okay.
Commissioner Steck?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Michelle. So is it our policy to provide an officer for every school district that makes the request, and then it would be one at 70% copay?
Every school district who makes the request, whose high school is in our primary patrol district.
Okay.
So, and yes, what we agreed to do was to do one at the discounted rate, additional is at 100% reimbursement.
And so we pay 30% of the cost of this additional officer, plus the part of the cost of the vehicle?
You pay 30% of both the vehicle and the personnel for the first school resource officer only. So in this case, Rockford, we're paying 30% out of the county general fund. In the Forest Hills circumstance, we aren't paying a percentage of those 2 officers.
Right, and if the school district wants 5, as long as they pay for all of them,
Yep.
That's fine.
Right.
But our policy is basically 1 officer per school and we pay 30%. I guess my question on a follow-up is how many schools, districts are out there that we have not yet serviced in this way?
1,
So there's only 1 left?
correct.
All right, okay. And then you already said something about within our policing jurisdiction. Is Rockford a self-policing jurisdiction, or?
Rockford's high school is actually in our response area. It's in the township.
Okay.
Even though they have a city police department, it doesn't cover that area.
Oh,
Yep.
all right, thank you.
Commissioner Korndike?
Thank you, Chair. So Michelle, can you give us a quick number of how many resource officers we have now in the county? And I think we approved 1 supervisor with our budget that's coming up for 2019. So how many officers are there out there now in Kent
So
County?
you would have thought I would have anticipated this question, but right now I'm trying to run through the numbers in my brain. I think it's 13, and we did vote to have one supervisor. So, and on that note, what we're doing is combining the supervision with the school resource officer and the community police program. We're going to divide it up geographically so that those supervisors can more readily get to all the school districts in the townships where the service is provided. So we do have a little bit more supervision for school resource officer than the new sergeant that we have coming in January.
And what is the 1 school district that we don't have a resource officer?
Kentwood.
Kentwood. Thank you.
Commissioner Skaggs?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Michelle. So this program is only available to school districts or high schools or any school that is within the primary patrol district, right?
Correct.
So is it available to East Grand Rapids High School?
No, because their schools are all encompassed within the city limits. However, East Grand Rapids does contract with East Grand Rapids Department of Public Safety. And that's typically what the circumstance is, because when a school resource officer is on scene, they are the primary responding officer. So if they're in a jurisdiction doing that, if I were to send my officer there to be the primary reporting officer, the infrastructure behind that officer, the backup, the support, the relief when they're gone, all coming from a different agency, can make there be some lost information between the 2. So that's why we have focused on our patrol area, they have focused on their patrol area, and typically speaking, these are all done through contracts.
Right, okay. So does the county help subsidize the East Grand Rapids High School or Grand Rapids High Schools as they try to have resource officers, or?
No.
No. So you're asking us to privilege some taxpayer children over other taxpayer children?
I'm asking that we be able to enter into a contract to provide safety and security for students in these school districts.
But you made a decision that is this a legal decision, or is this a decision on behalf of the department that you're not going to support children that live in cities?
Well, they are not our responding jurisdiction, so as
So
they
there's no
call for
legal law
service,
that mandates that you don't look after them?
there's
You just make a
jurisdictional
decision.
lines that cause this to be the general practice.
Okay.
You good? Commissioner Talon?
Chair, good morning.
Hey.
My memory is that from the last discussion we had when we hired the supervising officer, that it was stated that there's some availability of these school officers in emergency situations to the department. Is that correct? Do I
Yes,
have that
every
right?
single contract that we have with any entity to provide law enforcement services has an emergency clause in it that allows us to use that resource in an emergency response situation. And, you know, to tie that into some of our other conversations, those priority 1 and 2 calls that we talk about where we're watching the response times, those would qualify for that emergency exclusion. And school resource officers are often part of that group that are pulled.
And is there any difference between the 70% and the 100% in that availability, or that it's the same?
It's the same. There are officers, and that's the combined effort of the community.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
All right, any other questions on this issue? All right, seeing none, thank you. All right, so do we have a motion? Or we have a motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, motion passes. Moving on to item 6, miscellaneous. Any commissioner miscellaneous today? Commissioner Skaggs?
Thank you, Chair. Woke up this morning, and as I frequently do, I look at Twitter, because I'm a glutton for punishment. But noticed that Representative Howell, Chair of the House Natural Resources Committee in Lansing, has indicated that he would like to hold hearings on establishing a maximum containment level for PFAS in drinking water. I think that's something maybe this committee should look into, trying to support that work as they try to find a scientific number that we can all agree on, that we can establish an enforceable limit so that we have direction for various county departments.
Do you know what the bill number is or no? Just
The
wondering.
bill number is 5375.
Okay.
He's talked about multiple hearings. It doesn't appear to be a promise of a vote, but I think it would be something that we could encourage it to be done as soon as possible, and if that could happen in lame duck, then that would be wonderful. So I think our departments could really get to work with a full legal backing.
Thanks for sharing that. Any other miscellaneous? Commissioner Talon?
Thank you, Chair. I don't recall whether I've suggested or asked this before, but in light of some of the input that we've been receiving from community members, and actually today is the end of the 5-day pilgrimage to Lansing by Cosecha regarding driver's licenses for all in the state of Michigan. I wonder whether that issue is something we could consider taking up as an amendment perhaps to our legislative priorities rather than waiting until next year, since it is an issue of concern that's been brought to us. So I don't know whether this commission wants to weigh in on that, but would ask that we could have that discussion sometime soon.
Okay. Yep, thank you. Any other miscellaneous today? None? All right. Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.